Have you ever wondered what it would be like to travel through time? Imagine jumping forward to see the future, or going back to fix a mistake. What would that even look like? Time travel has fascinated humanity for generations, inspiring countless books, movies, and wild theories. But did you know there are actually different kinds of time travel? Join us as we dive into the 8 types of time travel, exploring how they work, their weird effects, and the incredible stories that come from them. So buckle up for a journey through the dimensions of time. Join us as we unravel the mysteries of time travel and discover what's truly possible. Fixed timeline theory, the unchangeable path. This theory is pretty straightforward. Basically, no matter what you try to change in the past, the future stays the same. You can go back and mess around all you want, but the timeline will always course correct to make sure everything ends up how it was meant to. It's kind of like time is set in stone. Imagine this. You go back in time to stop a disaster, but it turns out that in trying to stop it, you actually cause it to happen. Sounds frustrating, right? But that's the essence of this theory. Your actions in the past are already part of the future, and there's no way to escape that. Movies like The Terminator or 12 Monkeys are great examples of this, where the characters think they're stopping something catastrophic, but their actions end up being the very thing that makes it happen. The real mind-bender here is the idea that maybe everything is already written. Every choice, every action, it's all set in motion and we're just playing out the script. Is free will just an illusion? Are we all just along for the ride even though we feel like we're making choices? This fixed timeline concept raises all kinds of philosophical questions. If you can't change anything, does anything you do even matter? For some, that's a comforting thought. Everything is meant to be. But for others, it's unsettling, especially if you like the idea of having control over your destiny. To sum it up, the fixed timeline theory tells us that no matter what we do in the past, time will always find a way to make sure the future stays on track. It's kind of like a cosmic safeguard that keeps everything in line, whether we like it or not. Dynamic timeline theory, changing the future. This theory says that the past isn't set in stone, and if you go back and change something, the future does change. In this version of time travel, you've got the power to rewrite history, and that can have some pretty big consequences. A classic example of this type of time travel is Back to the Future. Remember when Marty McFly accidentally changes things in the past and his whole future is altered? That's dynamic time travel in action. You can tweak events and those changes ripple forward, affecting everything that comes after. It's exciting because it suggests you're not just an observer. You've got the power to make a difference. But here's where things get tricky. You've probably heard of the butterfly effect, right? It's the idea that even the tiniest change can have massive consequences. Step on a bug in the past, and maybe that small act changes the course of history, leading to a totally different present. It sounds far-fetched, but in the world of dynamic time travel, it's a real possibility. You never know how those ripples will play out. This type of time travel is all about responsibility. If you've got the power to change the past, how do you know what changes are the right ones? What if you make things worse? That's the big question here. Just because you can change things doesn't always mean you should. At its core, the dynamic timeline theory taps into our desire to fix mistakes and shape the future for the better. It's the ultimate what-if scenario, where every action you take could have far-reaching consequences. But with great power comes great responsibility, right? Multiverse theory, infinite possibilities. Multiverse theory opens up the possibilities. According to this theory, every time you make a change in the past, you're not altering your original timeline. Instead, you're creating an entirely new one. It's like taking a fork in the road and both paths exist simultaneously but in different universes. So, in this theory, there's not just one timeline. There are infinite timelines with every possible version of reality playing out somewhere. You might go back and change something in the past, but all that does is create a new branch of reality. Your original timeline stays untouched. Imagine stepping into a world where major historical events played out differently. Maybe dinosaurs never went extinct or humans never invented the internet. Crazy, right? This concept is used in a lot of popular media. One example is in Avengers Endgame, where the heroes travel back in time, but instead of changing their timeline, they create alternate ones. In this kind of time travel, every choice creates a new version of reality. The cool part is, every possibility exists, which means somewhere out there, there's a universe where you made a completely different decision than you did in this one. But this also makes you think, if there's an infinite number of realities, does anything matter? If there's a version of reality where every possible outcome plays out, does your particular timeline even matter? It's a wild thought, and it forces you to think about your place in the universe. Overall, the multiverse theory doesn't just limit time travel to fixing the past, it's about exploring whole new worlds, each one different from the last, and the possibilities, well, they're endless. Time loop, the endless cycle. This type of time travel traps you in a cycle where you live the same events over and over again. There's no jumping to the future or past. You're stuck in a loop, reliving the same moments until something or you changes enough to break out of it. A lot of you might be familiar with this from the movie Groundhog Day. The main character is stuck living the same day on repeat, over and over again, until he figures out how to live it differently and escape the loop. Another great example is Edge of Tomorrow, where a soldier keeps reliving the same battle until he can find a way to win. What's interesting about time loops is that they offer a chance for personal growth. You're given infinite chances to get it right, to perfect your actions and decisions. At first, it's frustrating, but eventually it becomes an opportunity. The loop almost forces you to evolve, to become the best version of yourself. But here's the big question. If you're stuck in a time loop, do your choices even matter? If everything resets at the end of the loop, does it matter what you do? This kind of time travel makes you think about the value of your actions and whether or not they have lasting consequences. In the end, a time loop can be both a curse and a blessing. It's a trap, but it's also a chance to learn and grow. And if you can break free, maybe you'll come out of it a better person, or maybe, just maybe, you'll be stuck forever. Quantum leap consciousness time travel. This theory is a bit different. Quantum leap time travel, where it's not your body that travels through time, but your consciousness. You don't physically jump through time, but your mind does, taking over someone else's body in a different era or moment in time. One of the most famous examples of this is the TV show Quantum Leap. The main character, Dr. Sam Beckett, leaps through time and takes over the bodies of people in different periods, trying to fix what went wrong. It's like he's jumping into someone else's life and playing out their role. But he keeps his memories and knowledge. This type of time travel is fascinating because it's not just about jumping through time, it's about experiencing life from someone else's perspective. You're forced to adapt quickly to a new body, a new life, and a whole new set of circumstances. And you have to figure out how to fix things before moving on to the next leap. But that raises some big ethical questions. If you're controlling someone else's body and making decisions for them, is that fair? Do you have the right to interfere in their life, even if you think you're helping? It's a tricky moral situation, and one that makes this form of time travel particularly unique. In quantum leap time travel, the focus isn't so much on the science, but on the emotional and moral growth of the traveler. It's a journey of self-discovery, as much as it is a journey through time. Alternate reality travel, diverging from the main timeline. This theory is pretty wild because it's not just about jumping through time, it's about jumping into a completely different version of reality. In alternate, you visit a version of the world where key decisions play out differently, leading to an entirely different timeline. This isn't about creating new timelines like in the multiverse theory, it's about seeing how one change in the past led to a radically different present. Think of shows like Fringe, where characters explore parallel realities to stop major disasters. Or imagine visiting a world where major historical events like the American Revolution or the moon landing never happened. In this type of travel, you're not just an observer of a different timeline, you're part of it. You might even encounter alternate versions of yourself, which raises some big questions about identity. If another version of you exists, what does that say about your current self? Are you just one of many possibilities? What's also interesting is that alternate reality, the fragility of history. A single decision or event can lead to a different outcome, making you wonder how much of our world is shaped by chance. In conclusion, alternate reality travel lets us explore the what-ifs of history. It's about more than just time. It's about seeing how different choices lead to different futures, and it forces us to confront some deep questions about identity and fate. Causal loop, the paradox of self-creation. The causal loop, also known as the bootstrap paradox, is where things get confusing. In this kind of time travel, events are caught in a loop where the cause and the effect are the same. It's like a never-ending cycle with no clear beginning or end, and the traveler might end up being the cause of the very thing they're trying to prevent. One of the best examples of this is the movie Predestination, where the main character discovers they're responsible for several key events in their own life. The same kind of loop appears in Harry Potter when Harry goes back in time with the time turner and ends up saving himself. In both cases, the actions they take in the future were always a part of the past. Then there's the bootstrap paradox, which is when something exists without an origin. Imagine going back in time and giving Shakespeare a copy of his works, and he publishes them. But where did the works originally come from? They exist in a loop, without a clear point of creation. This type of time travel raises big questions about free will and fate. If you're part of a loop, are you making choices, or are you just playing out a script that's already been written? It's a paradox that challenges the way we think about cause and effect. In the end, the causal loop is one of the most mind-bending forms of time travel, where time folds in on itself, and everything you do is both the cause and the result of the same event. It's enough to make your head spin. Time dilation, traveling through time by slowing it down. This theory is grounded in real-world science thanks to Einstein's theory of relativity. It happens when someone or something moves at speeds close to the speed of light, causing time to slow down for them compared to everyone else. So, while the person traveling at near light speed experiences time more slowly, the rest of the world keeps moving at a normal pace. In theory, this could allow you to travel into the future. You wouldn't jump ahead instantly, but by the time you return to normal speed, everyone else will have aged much faster. It's like fast-forwarding through time. A great example of time dilation is in the movie Interstellar. Remember how on the planet near the black hole, time moved much slower? For every hour spent on the planet, years passed back on Earth. That's time dilation in action. It shows how time can warp in extreme environments, especially where gravity or speed plays a big role. This isn't just science fiction either. It's been observed in real-life experiments. Astronauts on the International Space Station experience time slightly more slowly than people on Earth because they're moving so fast. While the difference is tiny, it proves that time dilation is real. Time dilation is fascinating because it offers a way to travel through time, though only forward. You can't go back, and once you move ahead, there's no reversing it. Still, it's one of the few forms of time travel that's possible according to the laws of physics. If you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to InnoVision Tech. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. Until next time, keep discovering the world's wonders with us.